Hey, it's Jeffrey Howard from Mastermind Mentor International. Thank you for being here for Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. We're going to get started here in just a minute, but before we do, please click the like button, click the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, and you might want to hit that notifications button, that little bell. It's going to give you an update every time we upload a new video so that you can stay up to date with what we do here. Finish Strong Friday is all about mindset. 90% of your success or failure falls right here between your ears, right? So we're giving you strategies, not just of positive thinking, which is all great, not just powerful tools and affirmations, which are all great, but actual tools for productivity, for mindset strategy, and things that you can do to stay on track and stay focused and stay motivated as an entrepreneur. So we're going to get started right now in exactly 7 seconds. Here we go.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Boom! All right. Welcome. Yeah, baby. Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. Welcome, everybody. So glad to have you here. Finish Strong Friday is our, I don't know, I'd have to argue that this is one of my favorite times of the week. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, for sure.
It's
fun hanging out with all y'all and
all y'all.
all y'all.
Eric moved from Minnesota to Texas all of a sudden.
Well, there's y'all is singular and all y'all.
All y'all, yes, I got it. Right on. All right. Well, again, welcome everybody. We're very, very happy to have you here. Finish Strong Friday is where we focus on training around mindset strategy. And today we're going to be talking about the 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business. 7 critical keys to creating peak performance. So let me just ask you on the Facebook group, and if you're here live in the webinar, who would like to be a peak performer? Just type in peak. Just say peak, P-E-A-K, to do peak if you'd like to be a peak performer and you'd like to learn how to do that today.
Even if you're watching the recording on Facebook Live, go ahead and type in peak. So we
Absolutely.
Who's in there and who's watching. Who's
peak. Hey, Rich Mays, Margarita, yay, peak. We're going to peak. We're peaking out. Christy, Lonnie, we're rocking. All right, everybody wants to peak out. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Before we get started, let's talk a little bit about Finish Strong Friday. We do these trainings every Friday. The design here is to bring you mindset strategy, not just affirmations, which are awesome, not just positive thinking, which is obviously awesome, but actual key strategies that you can use on it, like right now, literally by the end of this training, that you can use to start raising the bar for yourself. So peak performance is one of those keys. These 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business is going to be really powerful training. Eric and I, again, we've been doing this for quite a while now. We are always on the path and always learning. Eric and I have been involved in our community here as mentors and as content providers for 2 years now. Actually, we've been coming up on 2 years on Finish Strong Friday. So very happy about that. We both have a pretty parallel background. We became business partners last summer after running on the same track for about 4 years. Actually, I think we're coming up on 4 years. Yep, this summer. And started out as accountability partners, which, by the way, if you don't have an accountability partner in your life right now, would strongly encourage you to pair up with somebody, lock arms with somebody who's headed the same direction as you, and keep each other accountable in the process. It's so important as an entrepreneur. And honestly, I feel like it's really important as life in general, just to help keep you on track. There's so many different things that can throw you off these days, and it's great to have that support system. My background is I'm coming up on 20 years now. End of this year will be 20 years as a business coach, a peak performance coach. I've been involved with direct selling, network marketing, team building, leadership for all that time. I'm just about 23 years in May from the last time I was able to walk away from my last job, from when I was able to fire my boss. That was a happy day to fire a law firm. And, I've just been happily living my life since then. Lots of ups and downs as an entrepreneur, and that happens. And that's why we focus so much on mindset, because 90% of success or failure, boom, right here between the ears. So, as far as like my personal life, I'm a single dad of 4 boys, only 1 left at home. So I'm going to be an empty nester here in about a year or so, give or take. And, I'm also engaged to an amazing entrepreneur woman who is absolutely just so supportive, and it's great to be able to bounce off each other as well. So we're working on getting into the same space, the same town, the same house here this year, and it's been kind of a long road for us. 12 years we've been raising our kids. She has 4 girls, I have 4 boys. It's It's been an amazing journey. So we want to kick this thing off strong today. Let me toss it over to Eric, have him give a little bit of his background, and then let's get rolling with the 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business.
So my background's simple. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm married. I got one boy, 16 years old. I've been married coming on 29 years this year, so forever, more than half my life. And my wife is incredibly awesome. And I'm just all about, at this stage in life, just trying to give as much value as I can, everywhere I can, just giving value to people and raising the bar as far as what I'm giving in the world. And so let's just jump into it. All right, Jeff's muted. So,
sorry. Oh, whoops, I got it. I'm trying to mute myself because I've been noticing background noise when I'm not talking. So I've been trying to stay clean on that. So sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to jump into the 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business. So let's first talk about what is peak performance. So the term peak performance is most often used with athletic performance, but more and more we're starting to see peak performance in a different light, basically performing in all areas of your life, just basically maxing out the possibilities of this amazing human experience, this amazing journey. We like to look at peak performance as an indicator of what to strive for in literally every area. So whether you're an athlete or an entrepreneur, even in your personal life, because the reality is that, well, especially if you're an entrepreneur, I mean, everything overlaps. If you're, like our community here typically is online entrepreneurs or some people have their own products, they're working in e-commerce or whatever, you find that this work-life balance concept is probably a little out of whack. Like it doesn't, if you're really passionate about what you do, it definitely overlaps into every area of your life. And entrepreneurs tend to be high performers anyway. So these tips are really designed to help you just streamline your activities. Doesn't it make sense to arrange your life, your activities, your daily processes to get the most out of everything? When you do, you'll find that you accomplish more, you're happier, you're healthier, and believe it or not, you'll actually have more time to do things that you really want to do in your life. So who would like to have more time? We talked about this last week. We kind of blew the myth of time out of the water. If you didn't catch the Finish Strong Friday show last week, you might want to go back and check that out because we will guarantee you to find extra hours in your day and extra hours in your week. So peak performance is as much adopting a particular mindset as it is a series of actions. But remember that action is always going to win out at the end of the day. If you're adopting the right mindset and if you're taking the right action in the right direction. So, I heard this, I think, originally from Tony Robbins. If you're running east trying to chase the sunset, you're probably going the wrong direction. But even small actions in the right direction will compound to create long-term success. So let's go ahead and jump into it, get into the 7 critical keys for creating peak performance in your business. Eric, you want to take the first one?
Sure, absolutely. So the first critical keys to creating peak performance in your business is belief, right? So unless you believe in what you're doing, what's the point of starting in the first place, right? You have to believe in what you're doing. So entrepreneurs tend to always stay focused on the higher purpose, a vision, a mission. So really, what's yours, right? So if you're just dipping your toes in the water of your business and your opportunities or in life in general, you're not going to get the results that you say that you want. So what you should do is take a few minutes, check in with yourself, and be sure that your belief is strong. Even if you're new to the space and even if you don't fully believe in everything you're doing, set the tone, tap into into mastermind groups, into communities, into mentors and others that'll help solidify that belief. Use their belief that they have until you believe more strongly in yourself. And so at the end of the day, you have to believe in what you're doing wholeheartedly, 100%, if you're going to actually accomplish peak performance in your business.
That's such a powerful concept that Eric just laid out there is, we can call it borrowing someone else's belief, Because when you first get started with something, especially if you've taken a big risk or you feel like you've taken a big risk to start your new venture, whatever it is, it could be in an online marketing space, it could be a network marketing space, whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe you're literally starting a brick and mortar business. You know, there's a reason that you did it. There was a reason that you had the belief that it would work for you in the first place. But when you jump in, there's an interesting psychology that takes place. Like you're really excited about it until you pull the trigger and then you're like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And it's a really natural response, I think, for just about everyone. So there's someone around you, you know, whether, again, it's in online marketing community like we have here, or whether it's in a network marketing space that is you're part of a team, or, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, there's somebody who can function as a mentor or, you know, a business partner with you. And you can, you know, there's somebody else who already has a more successful story than you. And you can borrow their belief until you can completely solidify your own. It's really, really important and really powerful concept. So number 2 in the 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business is commitment. So commitment is your absolute certainty that you'll achieve your goal. So the bottom line is when you're committed, you're not going to stop short. You're not going to let yourself fall prey to negative self-talk or a few bumps in the road. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing. And it's so important to be clear on your why in every situation. Now, you know, we talk about the why a lot, and you don't have to be focused on the big why all the time. But why are you taking your next action? Why are you doing the next thing you're about to do? Is it supporting your goals? Is it taking you closer to your end game? You know, it's really easy to kind of trick your mind into believing that there's a really good reason why. You know, people talk about, like, let's use the example of memory, right? If you could remember more, it would serve you really, really well, right? It would serve you in education. It would serve you, like, people who, let me just ask you, this is interactive. So let me ask you guys, type in the comments in either the webinar or the Facebook, if you have ever told yourself, I'm not good with names. I have a hard time remembering names. Well, remembering names is really just, you have to have a motivation for it, right? So I would be willing to venture that if I was sitting here holding a suitcase with $10,000 in it, and I said, I'll give you this $10,000 if you remember this guy's name right here, who's next to me, right? If you can remember his name 24 hours from now, would that be motivation enough for you to know that Eric Jacobson's name is that powerful, that important, that, you know, that kind of motivation for you? So, you know, you need to connect and anchor things to what's important. You know, you need to anchor your whys to every action that you're taking. Why am I doing this? Well, why am I taking my first action to drive traffic to my website, for example, right? Well, because in the end, we know that the numbers may play out for you to where you could be making $20,000 over the next 60 to 90 days. Is that motivation enough for you to take the right actions next? So, you know, with commitment comes your you know, attaching a motivational goal or a type of motivation to whatever it is, whatever action you're taking. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and the other thing I look at as far as commitment is you know, you being honest with yourself as far as what you're doing, like, you know, being committed to doing the work that it takes for you actually to be successful. And, you know, and that's a different way that I look at commitment, just being that way. So step number 3, 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business. Step number 3, or the critical key, it's not a step, it's a critical key, is persistence. You know, so how is persistence different than commitment? Commitment is a concept and persistence is an action, okay? I'll say that again. Commitment is a concept and persistence is an action. You are, or you force yourself to be, unstoppable in the face of adversity, any adversity. You're strong, you're invincible. Wait.
I am strong, I am invincible. If you're old enough to remember that song, type it in the chat.
I am woman. Yeah. I am woman. You understand what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
Jeff, you're gonna you had a couple of quotes that you liked about persistence.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, 2 of my favorites, and anybody who's been around any of these trainings for long enough knows that I've got a little granite rock. It's sitting up on a shelf. I won't go grab it again, because I've done that recently. But persistence prevails when all else fails. This is printed on this stone. It's like a paperweight desktop decoration, if you will. And it was actually something that my mentor gave me in my very first network marketing business, the thing that allowed me to quit my job 23 years ago. And, I've dragged that thing around with me everywhere I've gone, from all the different places that I've lived. I was in Los Angeles at the time, went on to Arizona, now in Northern California. Every place I've ever been, this has been on my desk or near my desk somewhere in my office. And it's that one thing I can just look over to, and it literally anchors that feeling for me. Persistence prevails when all else fails. And then there's another one that I have on it's actually a cutout picture on my dream board. And it says, "A river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence." Put that one in perspective for a second. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, just type in GC, all right, GC in the chat, if you've ever seen the Grand Canyon. GC. If you've been there. I've been there. It's a pretty amazing site. Yeah. So Christy says, yeah, Margarita, yes. So it's really amazing. I mean, everybody's seen a picture of it, but it's not quite the same until you walk up to the edge and look down into it. And it's really important to understand that at some point, millions of years ago, this was just a little trickle. It was a little bit of water that was rolling down in a little gully, and it just kept on and on and on and on. And because of its persistence, not because of its sheer power, it cut the biggest gaping ravine canyon in the world. I think it's the biggest in the world. It's amazing what persistence can do. So let's move on to number 4. So number 4 is self-education. I have tried to put these in order that sequentially makes the most sense in terms of as you implement these. But honestly, I could easily have put this as number 1. I believe that this is a part of your daily activity. Part of your commitment to peak performance needs to be to self-education, or education in general. Here's the challenge, though. We live in a world where information's coming at us from every direction all the time. So discerning what you should be paying attention to is really the key to true self-education. So let me just ask you a question. You can answer in the chat if you'd like, or just answer for yourself, but jot down the questions. What do you want to learn? What do you really want to learn? And to move yourself more into peak performance in your life and business, what should you be learning? How much time a day are you focusing on education? How much time every single day? Okay, notice I'm not asking you how much time this year, this quarter, this month, this week. How much time every day are you focusing on education? Look, there's no excuse not to do it. There's so many ways you can do it. Successful people read, or at least they ingest material in some form that constantly raises the bar for them. There's a phrase I love. It's leaders are readers. Okay. Well, I love books, but to be more efficient with my time these days, I listen to most of my books on Audible or on some form of audio book, because I can do it while I'm hiking, or I can do it while I'm working out, or doing something else that doesn't require all of my mental attention. But you can tap into podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, print books, ebooks, blogs. I guarantee you that whatever you want or need to learn is out there in a format that you can digest easily and that you can fit into your life and schedule. Self-education is probably the key to continuing to raise the bar for yourself and continuing to keep yourself in a peak performance state. You're muted. Still muted.
I coughed, so I muted myself. So, and then the thing about self-education is that, in today's era, my son, 16 years old, he's had the internet at his disposal, his entire life, and he knows how to use it. He knows if he needs to learn how to do anything, he jumps on there and he finds it and he learns how to do it and he figures it out. And, those of us that are a little bit older that haven't had that access, you don't realize, you have everything you ever wanted to know is at your fingertips, and you can access it whenever you want. And so,
my gosh, who knows about the Dewey Decimal System? Like, that's how we used to Google, right? We'd have to go to the library and look it up. We'd have to look it up by subject, by author, by title.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Now
it's hard to
on,
even imagine.
now it's on your handheld computing device that you have in your hand, carry with you 24/7. That also
Anything.
doubles as a telephone.
Honestly, like I've got two, Google Home devices in my house, and I don't even use my phone that often anymore. I just ask, "Hey Google, what's 72 times 947?" That kind of thing. Actually, I'm kind of surprised that she didn't answer me from the other room. She usually hears me, sneaky little, you know what. Anyway, let's move on.
So the fifth critical key is self-discipline and self-control. So discipline, self-control. So, this might be the most important factor in staying in a peak performance state, because there's so many ways to be distracted and sucked away from your most important activities. So the only way and the only one who can stop you from going there is you, right? I hate to tell you, but there's no magic bullets, no pills, no potions, no way that you can take and stop, yourself from getting distracted if you allow yourself to get distracted. So the first step to developing a mindset of a peak performer is to create and maintain discipline. How do you do that? Use a schedule, block out your time, protect your time at all costs. And going back to last week's training talks about scheduling
Everything.
Scheduling everything. It's fine to have free time, just schedule your free time and do it then. Don't, and then do your free time when you're supposed to have your free time, and don't do it when you're supposed to be working and focused. So, and the thing about, and just being aware of when you're fading off into something. And man, I'll tell you, this device right here, this is the killer right here. So this is, you get a notification, you look at notification, then all of a sudden, I'm going to look at Facebook real quick. I'm going to look at Twitter real quick. Look at what's going on YouTube. And all of a sudden you look up and it's 2 hours later and you haven't done anything but stare at your phone. So be disciplined, be in self-control. You're the only one that can do it. And, start doing that today.
Yeah, we talked about this extensively last week. Is probably, we talked about, we like lists of 7. So we talked about, 7 time mastery hacks last week. But the most important one, I think, arguably, is exactly that. Turn off notifications on your phone. Those phones, as much as they are a godsend in many ways, and the technology allows us to access not just information, but stay in communication with people we care about. And, all these things are really positive factors. It's also turned us into sort of a Pavlov's dog in terms of the way we react to it. And, I actually had an idea for an app that I'm not sure how to pull it off yet, but an app that when you, like, as soon as you click on a notification, the app kicks in and goes tick, 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 tick. So it's like reminding you that the time that's going by while you're doing the thing that you're doing. Some of it's important. Look, if you're in an online space, or if you're in a coaching space, or if you're in a marketing space, it's important to keep up with what's going on. And, I chase rabbits down rabbit holes a lot just to see what other people are doing so we can kind of compare. And like Eric said last week when he was talking about this, it's like there's a difference between being a consumer in that space and being or the other term that you use, a what?
Creator.
A creator. Yeah. So, focus on being a creator, and just, you have to be honest with yourself 100%, like brutally, viciously, fearlessly honest about that. And that leads us into number 6, actually. Number 6 is fearlessness. This is a trait that you need to adopt and adapt to constantly. And let me be really clear about this. Fearlessness isn't eliminating fear in your life. It's impossible to do that, or at least so far, I've never seen anybody who is able to do it 100% of the time. But fearlessness is having courage in the face of fear. It's facing the fear. It's seeing your fear and pushing through that thing anyway. And this also lends itself back to discipline, and awareness. Awareness is the key to everything. Whenever you want to make a change in your life, or whenever there's a change required in your life, whenever you need to make a change in your life, the first thing you need to do is become aware of the current behavior. You have to catch yourself in the act, so to speak. Then you can start to move toward solving that problem. So when it comes to fear, like a lot of times that fear response comes up for us so naturally because, again, we're kind of programmed everything is, the news is all sensational and it's always focusing on the negative, and it's, focusing on the things that are creating fear and just riling people up, right? So it's easy to go into that fight or flight type of a response. So you have to catch yourself doing it before you can do something about it. And one really easy way to deal with fear as it comes up is just to stop and stay present in the moment. Take a deep breath, take 3 or 4 deep breaths, take 7 deep breaths, take 10 deep breaths, whatever you need to do, but just be present with where you are. Because let's say your fear is coming up around money. Okay, very common. Fear is coming up around money. Oh my gosh, something's gone wrong here. I'm not getting the money I was expecting to get. Rent's coming due, etc. So the first thing that happens is your brain starts to go into this projection mode, right? It starts to project forward into the future all the things that could possibly go wrong in this situation, right? It's natural. It's part of the process of what Eric always refers to as your lizard brain going into fight or flight. I mean, it's programmed into us over millions of years, only we don't really have a need or a necessity most of the time for that type of response. Like, we're not facing a saber-toothed tiger anymore, but that response comes up and feels very much like you're on death's door, like you're literally facing that kind of experience. So stop, be present, take a breath, realize that right now, in this moment, you're right here and everything's okay.
Yeah, and the other misnomer is that successful people don't have fear, or but everybody has fear. I guarantee it. Everybody has fear. Feel the fear and do it anyways. Okay, feel the fear and do it anyways. That's a great way to live. If the fear is like picking up the phone to talk to somebody, or pressing send on an email, or pressing send on an article that you're posting, or uploading a video on the internet, or doing a Facebook Live. If that's the fear, feel the fear, do it anyways. And that's from a bit of a different space than when Jeff was saying if you had a fear around money. I'm talking about things that are going to move you forward in your business. Things that are going to create peak performance in your business. Feel that fear, but take action anyways.
And also ask yourself why. Like, once you stop and take that breath, ask yourself why. Why am I feeling fear about this? Like, Eric just used some really basic functions that we go through on a day-to-day basis as online marketers, online entrepreneurs. Clicking send on an email. Why does that make you, nervous or fearful? I can only think of one thing, and that is, what's somebody going to think on the other side? How are they going to respond? Right? Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. We're not all about trying to win out over the entire audience. We only want to win out over the people that are supposed to be working with us, right? So you just send out, hit that send button, knowing full well that the right people are going to show up at the right time for you, and it's going to be the right fit. And everybody else, it's either the timing isn't right or they're not the right people.
Yeah. So that brings us to the 7th critical key to creating peak performance in your business. And this is something I believe that most of the people that are here, most of the people in this space have this, and almost to a detriment. And that's a genuine desire to help others, a genuine desire to help others. So all successful entrepreneurs and all successful humans really ultimately have a desire to help others at some level. And that's really, the thing I want to get into, just an aside before I get into, what we're talking about here necessarily, is that the first thing you got to realize that you got to help yourself in order to help others. I'm talking about financially. A lot of people think, I want to help everybody. I want to save the world. I want to, help everybody out there, but they're like in dire straits themselves financially. You need to help yourself first before you help other people. That's just an aside. And I'll turn it over to Jeff here. He can kind of wrap up kind of where I was pointing with this in the first place.
Yeah. Well, look, the bottom line is, I think we all at some core of our being have that desire to help other people. I think that's a natural tendency with, like Eric said, all successful entrepreneurs and really even successful human beings. So yeah, you can make money off of the backs of other people. Yes, you can make money without really caring about who it affects or how they're affected. And, we do see some of that in the world. I think we're starting to see a shift from that. But that strategy ultimately is going to be short-lived, because at least I believe that for the most part, people are genuinely good. And it goes against their nature to do things that are parasitic or that take energy or life away from other people. So always focus on giving to others, providing the highest level of service you can, and do so with no regard to the financial outcome. The really interesting aspect about adopting this philosophy in your life is that money seems to flow even more effortlessly when you simply focus on helping other people to solve a problem or create a better life. So the more value you bring, the more value you will receive.
That goes back to the first comment when we were opening up, that I said. It just really, right now, I'm just in a mental place of how can I give more value? How can I give more value to somebody just in a face-to-face conversation, just in a telephone conversation? As I was, I was talking with someone who works at the desk at the club that I work out with the other day as I was walking out the door. And she was talking about how stressed she felt right now because she's running a clean eating program through the gym, and she's kind of the caretaker of that. And she just wants to make sure she gets back to everybody timely, and they get their answers to the questions that they have. And I said, well, it's because you're just a natural nurturer. That's your tendencies. You want to really nurture people. And I took a moment, and instead of just saying that, I took a moment and I talked a little bit about this bank concept that we talk about every once in a while, and it helped her to understand, different personality traits that people have. And I just wanted to give her a little bit of value, as I walked out the door from the club. And hopefully, what I told her about herself, as well as how she can use that concept to read it other people a little bit better, will give her some value. And so just trying to give back in any way that I can. That's really where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. And yeah, it's funny, it always seems to come back. It always pays you back. It doesn't always, here's another funny thing about that, is it doesn't always pay you back from the person that you give it to. In fact, sometimes I'd say it's really common for it not to be paid back directly from the person you're providing that value to. But, call it karma or, however you want to frame it based on your belief system. There is an energy in the universe that's reciprocal. And when you give, you do receive. And we've seen it happen time and time again. So there you have it. And we're almost right on time too. Wow. The 7 critical keys to creating peak performance in your business. So listen, guys, it is Finish Strong Friday. Go out there and finish strong. Take these tools and apply them. Going back to education for just a minute, learning something is not going to bring you value. It's applying the thing that you learn, right? They say knowledge is power, but knowledge isn't power. It's the application of knowledge that's power, right? You have another great phrase you'd like to say about that. What is it?
Well, to know and not to do is not to know. You need to do the thing and that you learn, or you need to put it into practice as quickly as you can. So look for a way, think about these 7 steps and think about how you can implement these, right away, as quickly as you can. And that's going to help you retain that knowledge, and it's going to help you really, kind of move forward with your entrepreneurial journey.
And that, the key word there that just jumped out at me is practice. Entrepreneurship is a practice. Yoga is a practice. Meditation's a practice. Weightlifting, bodybuilding, it's a practice. And are you ever perfect? Never. Never, ever, ever will you be perfect at it. You'll just continue to grow and grow and grow. And as soon as you hit a goal, you'll have another goal to achieve. That's one of the most beautiful things about life, this journey of being human, is that you can break through barriers, you can blow up your goals, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that was easy. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I bring that back to yoga. There's a lot of, I there was times I had a belief that I couldn't do a specific, more difficult pose. And I had that belief for maybe a year or 2 years, sometimes 3 years, 4 years. Then all of a sudden, one day, boom, I can do it. Right? So what changed? Did my ability change? Not that dramatically. I think what happened is all of a sudden, in a split second, I believed I could do it, and then I was able to do it. And the truth is, I could do it all along, right? I just had a belief, I had a mindset that it's something that I can't possibly do. So
90% is a mental game. If we had time, I'd bring you guys to another exercise that would prove that to you, but we'll have to save that one for another time. So listen, guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate all your comments, all your input. Remember, go out and apply these things. Go take care of your Friday. #FSF, Finish Strong Friday. It's all about finishing strong.
Make it happen today, guys.
All right. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will catch you next week. Take care. Thanks again for being here.
See you soon.